Both men and women have amateur opportunities. They both can compete in the Olympics, and they both have realistic professional aspirations. But what remains a difference is the opportunities on major platforms and the money offered. According to Census Bureau data, women of all races earn, on average, just 82 cents for every dollar earned by men of all races. When factoring in women of color, the gap widens. So does this gap apply in boxing? Lou DiBella has long been a champion for the women in boxing and had this to say to Ring magazine concerning the gap. Similarly situated women and similarly situated men, 15 to 20 cents on the dollar. When Amanda Serrano and Heather Hardy fought on DAZN, DiBella mentioned that if men were fighting in a similar bout, they would be getting paid upwards to $1 million. But Serrano and Hardy are not even getting $100,000 each. DiBella believes sustained support is part of the issue as he has had struggles getting broadcasters to put women on shows. Heather Hardy has also been a vocal advocate for women to receive more pay. Hardy expressed the separatism in the sport on social media by expressing her thoughts on the usage of women's boxing. It's time to stop the women's boxing narrative. It's just boxing. There's women who box and men who box. There's not a separate venue for women's boxing. Hardy is not wrong. It is not a separate sport or venue. But the women of the sport do fight under different rules, such as 2-minute rounds and a max of 10 rounds for championship fights. The governing bodies do not help matters because the WBO allows 12 rounds for women title fights, but the WBC, the IBF, and the WBA do not. The sanctioning bodies need to get it together and get on the same page. Another cause for use of the term women's boxing comes when one is asked to speak on the growth of the women in the sport. It may still be fair to call it women's boxing until the women receive the integration into the boxing fabric that will satisfy. The positive is when there's a good fight, people on social media and media members will say, "That was a good fight." You won't see or hear from a respected journalist or personality, "That was a good women's fight." And that is how it should be. But it is also a start in understanding how the product is being consumed. It is being consumed as a boxing match. The growth in the way the consumer takes in the product will eventually help the pay scale, a growth that promoters Eddie Hearn, Lou DiBella, and Dimitri Salita, and managers like Brian Cohen are pursuing. Eddie Hearn of Matchroom likes to reiterate that Matchroom Boxing is trying, and it is just going to take some time. In a November 10, 2020 Boxing Social interview, Hearn alluded to how that growth can take place.
What we need to start doing is trying to establish women's main events more consistently across boxing. And we want to try and create more of those stars with that kind of appeal and that kind of drawing power for the broadcaster to say, yes, that is a main event.
To his credit, no promoter with a major platform has put on more women's fights than Hearn. Also, there are not many promoters with major platforms, which is an issue. Lou DiBella and Dimitri Salita have talent, but have limited assurances. Hearn mentioned in the interview from 2020 that Chantel Cameron, Terry Harper, and Savannah Marshall are getting there on their own merit. It is important to note that they also are getting the necessary exposure, push, and fights to grow their brands. When Savannah Marshall was with Floyd Mayweather's promotional company, The Money Team, TMT, she was not getting the same investment with fights and exposure to grow. There lies a primary reason women are not seeing the results in the bank account as some would like. They need a push from what I like to call entities with a voice. The entities with the loudest voice need to invest in the women of the sport in order for it to continue to grow. They have the loudest voices because their content is on the largest platforms, such as ESPN, ESPN Plus, Showtime, DAZN, Sky Sports, and BT Sport. I asked Mike Coppinger why haven't major American entities such as PBC and Top Rank that have major platforms invested in growing the women in boxing. In response, Coppinger stated, because so far, it hasn't moved the needle. Is that because of lack of promotion? Maybe. The last part of the quote speaks to the first part of his answer. It is very difficult to sell a product no one knows about or understands why they should care. Top Rank's focus has been primarily one woman at the moment. That woman is Michaela Mayer. The good news is they have recently added Mayer's former Olympic teammate, Virginia Jenny Fuchs, who had her first professional bout and victory in impressive fashion on 9 April 2022. Please understand, promotional companies are opportunists. Top Rank made their case on proving this true when they had Kim Clavel participate on one of their COVID bubble cards in July 2020, after she was announced the winner of the Pat Tillman Award at the 2020 ESPYs. While Michaela Mayer has fought and became Ring Magazine and unified WBO and IBF super featherweight champion. As of now, almost 2 years later, there is still no scheduled fight for Kim Clavel with Top Rank on ESPN, even with the title fight of her own against Yesenia Gomez taking place on April 21st. This is not an indictment on Top Rank. PBC has no female fighters they are publicly pushing at this time. Gabriela Fondora has been on a few PBC shows, but has not received any serious push so far. Mia Ellis looks to be on an upcoming Gervonta Tank Davis card, and it's possible she could get some TV time, but that's not guaranteed. Claressa Shields has fought on Showtime, DAZN, and Fight TV. She was a Demetrius Salita fighter when she fought on those networks, and soon it looks like she will be facing Savannah Marshall in an explosive grudge match that has captured the fans' interest. Dimitri Salita, head of Salita Promotions, and Showtime had done some good features to help push her, especially prior to the Christina Hammer bout. But there is no better promoter than Claressa Shields herself. Thanks to her and her team, she has been on game shows such as the Titan Games and Family Feud, and has a movie in the works as well. Her brand is growing, and that is great for her and also importantly, the sport. The push still needs to be there from the entities, even when the fighter is not fighting. Across the pond, Katie Taylor is a quiet warrior, but her popularity speaks volumes thanks to her accomplishments and the backing from entities such as Matchroom and networks like Sky Sports and DAZN. Taylor also has a documentary that was produced and launched in 2018 properly titled Katie, which funny enough, she still hadn't seen to this day. Shields may be the outspoken spokeswoman for the women of boxing, and Taylor is more of a quiet superstar. However, they both are blazing a path for others to more smoothly run on in the future. They just shouldn't be doing most of the heavy lifting themselves. The entities with the voice need to speak louder. Respect and adulation should be paid to all the fighters that drew and continue to draw attention to the sport, then and now. And while we still have fighters such as Sidoff Kaddoum of France, after being exiled from her beloved Iran, still fighting for the right to fight, the women of boxing and their supporters have the remaining naysayers on the ropes. Their actions kept the women of boxing on the tongues of the world, pressing the different commissions, AIBA, now IBA, IOC, professional managers, and promoters in influential positions to start to reciprocate the love that they have always displayed. Let's support and celebrate all of our talented fighters as they approach the summit. They all deserve our love, then and now. I would like to give a huge thank you to Malissa Smith, the boxing historian and author of a must-read for any boxing fan titled A History of Women's Boxing. This book is a pertinent resource for any history on the subject of boxing and should be on your bookshelf, desk, or electronic device. Thank you for watching.